Humans once made a crazy decision. We deliberately put a virus into our bodies, just for a chance to live. This wasn't a desperate act of self-harm. It was the first time humans fought back against death. The killer's name was smallpox. The smallpox virus enters through the lungs. It targets immune cells first, then it locks onto them and injects its DNA. The infected person gets high fever. Their bones feel like being smashed. Then the rash starts. It spreads across the whole body. Those red spots turn into bumps in 24 hours. They fill with pus. The bumps sink in the center. That's where the cells have been hollowed out. Sores grow in the throat too. Patients drown in their own mucus, eyes wide open. They awake the whole time. In 13th century England, doctors had one treatment: red therapy. Put patients in red rooms, dress them in red clothes and socks. It was fake science. All that mattered was if the patient's fate was tough enough. If the patient's immune system lost, the worst form came: hemorrhagic smallpox. The virus caused bleeding everywhere. Lungs failed, liver failed, kidneys failed. But if you survived, your face was left with pitted scars. They're the medals from a hard fight. Survivors taught people the first secret. If you got smallpox once, you never got it again. So people made a crazy choice. Stop waiting to die. Tehai, getting sick on purpose. This was variolation. During the Ming and Qing dynasties, Chinese people ground up scabs from healed patients, blew them into nostrils. It cut the death rate. Protection was 60 to 90%. It was gambling with death. Variolation still has a 2% mortality rate. But people were willing to take that risk for a shot at full immunity. This Eastern wisdom traveled west along the Silk Road. Europe used it widely. French kings and Russian empresses also got variolated. But there was a catch. Variolated people could become the source of infection, spread smallpox to others, and thus trigger a new pandemic. Large-scale smallpox vaccinations often involve shared tools. It spread hepatitis and syphilis too. Variolation was a risky move. The world needed something gentler. No one guessed the answer would come from a country doctor. His name was Edward Jenner. Yes, that Jenner, the cowpox guy. He took pus from a milkmaid's cowpox sore. He made the first vaccine in history. He cut a boy's arm and put the pus in. Weeks later, Jenner put real smallpox into the same boy. The boy was fine. Jenner was right. Cowpox and smallpox viruses belong to the same genus, orthopox virus. They look alike to the immune system. Immune cells trained on cowpox also kill smallpox. Compared to variolation, cowpox was safe. Vaccinated people couldn't spread smallpox. Jenner proved humans didn't need to gamble with their lives. After that, vaccine pus then became precious cargo. They put it on silk threads, sealed it in tubes, and shipped it to places that needed it. When the method reached Spain, King Carlos IV was terrified. He had seen his family and his colonies dying. He came up with a huge mission: bring the vaccine to the Americas, save his people, make Spain the first nation to fight smallpox for real. A military doctor named Balmis had lived in the Americas for years. He was the right man for the job. 1803, a ship named Maria Pita left port. It carried 32 special passengers. Balmis led them on a mission unlike any before. There were Balmis, some assistants, and 22 orphans. Wait, why orphans? Because Jenner's vaccine had a flaw. The live virus only lasted 12 days in a bottle. To guarantee the vaccine's efficacy, Balmis had a clever workaround: arm-to-arm transport. Every 9 or 10 days, vaccinate 2 new kids. When their sores ripened, take pus from one kid, give it to the next. This process was repeated in a continuous cycle. The arms of 22 orphans became a flowing, self-renewing culture line. No refrigeration, their arms were chains. Humans built a delivery line from Europe to America using 22 children. They got fevers on deck. They healed. They became the next batch of vaccine. It's morally wrong, but it was the only way. 2 months later, the ship reached Puerto Rico. 3 months in, it hit Venezuela. 5 months later, it crossed the Pacific to the Philippines. In 1805, the chain reached Macau and Guangzhou. Everywhere Balmis went, he vaccinated people. He handed out manuals in local languages, trained local doctors, and set up vaccine boards. He wanted to give the shield to everyone. Jenner and Balmis built the defense. But real victory needed 2 more breakthroughs. First came freeze drying in the mid-1900s. Vaccine powder no longer needed cold chains. It could handle tropical heat. Just add water and it worked. At this point, the vaccine was free to travel. Second phase came a strategy shift. In 1967, the WHO launched a plan to wipe out smallpox everywhere. Step 1 was to vaccinate every person on Earth. They quickly realized this was impossible. Some tribes had never seen outsiders, some mountains had no roads. So they switched to step 2, ring vaccination. Scientist William Foge noticed something. Smallpox only spreads through close contact. Vaccinate everyone around a new case. Break the chain. And smallpox itself helped seal its own fate. It only infects humans, having no animal hideouts. Its symptoms are very obvious, no asymptomatic carriers. Its genes are stable. It doesn't change its disguise like flu. All these weaknesses finally became the death sentence for smallpox. On May 8, 1980, the World Health Assembly officially declared that smallpox had been eradicated. Today, the virus lives in just 2 labs, one in Atlanta, one in Siberia. They are living tombstones for a dead killer. Smallpox was the first enemy humans fully defeated. It deserved this fate, surrounded, captured, locked in liquid nitrogen tanks forever. Recalling that night, the Balmis expedition, a sailing ship leaving port. 22 kids stood on the on-deck, fresh scabs on their arms. They didn't know where they were going. They didn't know what they were carrying. They were silent arcs. They didn't know the flood was about to recede. Never before has history been so humble. The ones who saved the world often don't know they're saving it. And we, who have now taken up this armor, should not forget them. The next virus won't be as merciful as smallpox.